Hey everyone, it's Dustin Nulf with Keller Williams Realties, the Dustin Nulf team, and Full House LLC, Pittsburgh Property Management Company. Talking today. So today we're going to talk about how I became a millionaire. And so to preface this video, I'm not doing this to brag. I'm doing this because I hope to help motivate some people who may have been or may be in the situation I was in about 11 years ago when I first got started in real estate. And just want to share with you and hopefully, teach some people how to do this and make people more financially free and happier with their lives. So that's why we're going to look at this today. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. If there's anything else that you'd like to see as far as videos go, training videos and that sort of stuff, or anything you'd like to know about real estate or real estate investing, comment below this video. We do have links below this video for some of the books that have really helped me, my favorite books that I've read along the way. I've got a link to my Patreon site if you'd like to support me there. I do real estate sales coaching for $10 a month, super cheap, super affordable, and high quality coaching for $10 a month. I also do team building coaching for $100 a month, and one-on-one coaching for sales, real estate team building, or real estate investing as well. So visit my Patreon site below. So let's get started. So as I said, 11 years ago, I made a decision. It was actually about 12 years ago. I made a decision that I was no longer happy with what I was doing, and I wanted to be financially free. I wanted to work for myself. I was tired of being tied down to a job and working for somebody else. I felt like I was a slave to the system. I felt like the system was rigged to keep me a slave to the system. And I figured that the only way for me to break free from that was to get a bunch of money, basically. So I made the decision before I had an idea of what I was going to do. I made the mental decision that I was going to become a millionaire. It was going to be, I needed to become a millionaire, and that was the first step in me being, successful with breaking the chains of middle class, and I was basically in poverty at the time, but breaking the chains of, the class system that's kind of forced on us as we grow up. So I made that decision. At the time, I was working for Taco Bell. So, this is, I just, want to make it clear. Yes, I have a college education. However, I wasn't raised by rich parents. My dad was a factory worker. My mom worked full-time for a lot of my life to make sure that we could pay our bills and live a good life. So I come from a blue-collar, middle-class family. In any case, so I did get a college education. I left college with a whole bunch of debt. I learned how to party real good, and I left with a psychology degree, which at the time I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh. I believe psychology was the biggest school of study they had. So there was like 9,000 people or something who had recently graduated with a psychology degree. And I was being offered jobs where like I could go in and work part-time for $9 an hour. And I thought, man, this is stupid. I can't believe I went to school for this. So I pursued my dream of music at the time. I stayed in a band, and I was in a band, several bands off and on, and decided that, well, if I'm going to get paid $8 or $9 an hour for my psychology degree, I may as well just stay working in the restaurant industry, which is pretty much what I knew. And I was working in the restaurant industry. I ended up quitting one restaurant job to work at another, where I was told that I was kind of getting a management position, and that definitely was not the case. I was laid off shortly after that, and here I am totally unemployed. I'm on unemployment and barely able to pay my bills. Super depressed, couldn't figure out what to do. I had worked for Taco Bell when I was 14 years old, and that was my first job. I might have been 15. So I'd worked for Taco Bell when I was 15 years old up until I was 18. I had gone to college. I was still working for Taco Bell off and on. And I knew that, I'm getting desperate here. I need to pay my bills. So I went down to the local Taco Bell and applied. And, of course, they're going to hire somebody who's got already 4 or 5 years experience in the company, and a college degree. They were already pitching me on management. And I'm like, man, I'm just trying to pay my bills. Just give me a job. So I worked for Taco Bell. I kept playing in bands. I realized that relying on the personality of musicians was not going to get me anywhere as far as money goes or income goes, and I finally just decided that I needed to give it up and focus on making money elsewhere. I met an excellent mentor. His name is Suresh Ganesh, little shout out there, who was a general manager. He was a new general manager at the time for the franchise that I was working for in fast food. And he kind of took me under his wing and started teaching me about management and pretty much helped me work up from a crew member at Taco Bell to a general management position within 6 months. In any case, I ended up getting fed up with corporate fast food. I was working 80 hours a week. I was getting paid maybe $50,000 a year in a good year, and I was making millions of dollars for the owner. And to me, I thought, well, if I'm going to work this much, why don't I just own my own business? Because I sure as hell would make more than 50 grand a year if I'm working 80 hours a week on my own business, right? So that was kind of a mindset change that happened in my head, and I started. So then the change happened in my head, and I started looking into, how do I do this? How do I become a millionaire? How do I run my own business? And I bought books like How to Start a Business for Dummies and Entrepreneurship 101 and things like that. One of the books I bought was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So out of all the books that I read about entrepreneurship and how to start a business, Rich Dad Poor Dad was a pretty, wasn't super specific as to like, this is how you run your business, but the concepts in it pretty much changed my life. So, I started reading about, the one specific thing I remember is I think Robert Kiyosaki said that he borrowed like $2,000 from his friend so he could buy this foreclosure, and then he ended up selling the foreclosure for some ridiculous profit, and like he essentially invested no money of his own to make money off of this place. And that idea really kind of sparked an interest in me, and I thought, man, I've been thinking about things all wrong. I always thought you needed money to make money. You don't need money to make money. You don't need your own money to make money. You can use other people's money, or you can figure out creative ways to do this. So that really got me on real estate, and I thought, I started looking into real estate, and there was a saying or something I found on the internet that said that more millionaires in America have been made by real estate than by any other field or something like that. And I thought, well, if that's the case, then I have a better shot of becoming a millionaire by focusing on real estate than doing anything else. So why wouldn't I do real estate? So in the meantime, I'm still working full-time at Taco Bell, over full-time at Taco Bell. I had been demoted to a senior assistant manager because I didn't want to travel all over the place. They were trying to get me to move right after I bought a house in Pittsburgh. They're trying to get me to move to Cumberland, Maryland. I loved Cumberland, Maryland, but I wasn't going to move there. So I had to shift from general manager to senior assistant manager. I was unhappy with what was going on. I was seeing that I was pretty much not going to be promoted anytime soon, and was thinking about this real estate the whole time. And one of my employees at the restaurant I was working at the time said, I think she was 17 years old at the time, and she said, I'm going to get my real estate license. And she started telling people about how she was going to get a real estate license, how easy it was to get this license. And I thought, well, I want to get into real estate. If it's so easy to get this real estate license, maybe I should get a real estate license. So I started looking into how to get a license in Pennsylvania. Started researching it. It looked like it was pretty easy. I started applying at brokerages, which, you know, I thought I was getting a job. And if you get a real estate license, anybody who knows anything about real estate licenses, it's not a job. You're a 1099 contractor. It's your business, okay? So that's like, if you're going to get a license, my tip to you is that you need to interview brokers and find out what your broker is going to do for you, not the other way around. You're not an employee of the broker. The broker is hiring you as a business person to go out and run your own business, and they're supposed to help you run your business, okay? So that's sidetrack. But so I focused on getting my real estate license. I got into real estate. I decided I wanted to be an investor mainly, so I figured if I had a license, I could find my own properties on the MLS and I could be an investor. I knew that I was going to need more time because I couldn't work 80 hours a week in the restaurant industry and then also somehow make it in the real estate world because I was just running myself into the ground. So I looked to finally use my psychology degree, and I got a job in social work. And I ended up quitting Taco Bell, went to social work. I had just gotten my real estate license because I was doing kind of night classes in between, and got into social work. The bad and the great thing about social work, so it's bad for you if you're trying to make money in it. It's good for me because I wanted to make money in something else and spend my time doing something else. So the bad thing about social work is that you may go in and you may have 40 hours a week booked, but half of your clients are like court ordered to be there, so they're going to cancel on you. So you end up having 40 hours a week booked and you only get paid for 20 because half of your stuff was canceled. So I realized this. Fortunately, I had already bought a property I was living in, and I was renting bedrooms out essentially to my brother and a friend, and I was able to I was pretty much living for free. I mean, they were paying my mortgage for me for the most part, and then we were splitting the bills. So I didn't need to make a whole bunch of money, so I figured, well, if these people are going to cancel on me, and I'm only going to get 20 hours a week, well, then I'll spend the rest of my time working on real estate. And I was already used to working 80 hours a week, so I'd work 20 hours on social work and 60 hours on real estate. And I just kept focusing on it and focusing on it and building, you know, trying to build up sales because, you know, I got into it to invest, and I realized pretty quickly after I got into it that I could make a ton of money selling real estate, and that was also going to keep me in the market so I could be aware of where, you know, what I was going to invest in and be smart to the market. So I started focusing on sales, you know, pretty drastically, and I was working, you know, pretty much as soon as my social work day was over, I went into the real estate office. I sat down and I would focus on expired listings. I would find all the expireds. I would mail out to every single one of them. I would handwrite the envelopes. I would stamp them. I was so cheap. I was buying the you know, lick and stick envelopes. So I'd sit there with a sponge and do hundreds of envelopes, lick and stick with a sponge, because it was too cheap to buy the self-adhesive ones at the time, too broke, and stuff the envelopes. I would look up phone numbers for people on the yellowpages.com. I would call them, I would leave voicemails, and just 3 to 6 hours a day just doing that over and over and over again. And I ended up building up from no listing inventory whatsoever. I went from 0 listings to 22 listings there within 6 months. And I ended up leaving that company. I was like 1 listing shy of beating out their top performer for listing inventory. And I left that company to join Keller Williams Realty and start a real estate team. And so that was the business that I wanted to start. I wanted to start a brokerage or a real estate team, and I started working on that. And so the whole idea is, you know, I made up my mind. I wanted to make $1 million. I wanted to be a millionaire. I had found the path, and I started working on the path, and in my mind I'm constantly repeating, I want to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire. And as I'm going through this, I'm you know, building up net worth. I wasn't even tracking it at the time, but I had bought my first investment property in 2008. As soon as I got licensed, I used a home equity line of credit to buy that property. It's still the worst property I own, but it's at the point where, you know, I got a nice chunk of equity in it. Right now I'm partnered with my brother on a 50-50. We then use the equity to buy something else. So we own a duplex free and clear that we own 50-50 as well. And when I started getting into more and more sales, I started running into people. I would go on a listing appointment, and I'd think, you know, I'm going to get this listing as a listing. It's an expired listing. They wanted to sell it. I'm going to get this listing. And I remember the one I walked into the first time, and I thought, man, I want to buy this property. And I just made an offer to the owner, and I thought, you know, it was just kind of like a light bulb went off, and I was like, man, I'm the only person in this house, the only person that's seen it, the only person this person's talking to, and I want to buy it. Like, why would I list it and make a $2,000 or $3,000 commission off of it when I could just buy it myself? So, you know, the first one I did that too. Walked through with the owner. There were some issues with the property. You know, I assessed the property to sell for like 35 or 40 grand. So this is like right after the market crash in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was like, you know, we're just now starting to get near the average sale price for the nation. So we were at the bottom of the barrel back then. And I told this guy, you know, and I always try to be honest, and I told him, listen, if I list this property, I'm probably going to want to list it for like 40 or 45,000. You might sell it for 35 or 40, and then you're going to only walk away with like $30,000 when it's all said and done, because you're going to pay commission and closing cost. So why don't I just buy it? I'll buy it for 25 grand. I'll do owner financing with you, where I pay you 7% interest, and we make these payments, and you know, I have to have you paid off in 10 years or less. And if I do it, you know, if this whole term runs out, I sat down and I showed him what the numbers looked like, he'd make more money doing it that way than he would if he just sold it outright. And he liked the idea of income stream because he was retired. So he liked the idea that he was going to be able to get income out of the property but not be responsible for it anymore. So we worked up an owner financing situation. I bought it with a land contract, and then I ended up putting about $7 grand into it. So I paid him $4,000 down. I did $7,000 worth of work on the property. The one unit you couldn't even use because there was no bathroom in it. So we installed a bathroom, and we did some other work on it to clean it up. And I'm pulling in, I think, $1,300 or $1,400 a month now for that place. So I paid 25 grand for it. I put 7 into it. I'm pulling in like $1,400 a month. That property was recently appraised. I refinanced it for, I think it was like $110,000 it appraised for. So a nice chunk of money there that was made equity-wise, where it was, you know, bought it, rehabbed it, re-tenanted it, and I'm still making good cash flow off of it. So I pulled equity out. I got a mortgage on it now, but I'm still making good cash flow off of it, and I was able to pull that big chunk of money out and then use it to buy something else. So that's pretty much been my model. I did owner financing with 3 people. I bought a couple things outright. I bought one outright with my HELOC. I bought 2 outright with my HELOC. So I bought one outright with my HELOC, and then I paid my HELOC down, and then I used it again to buy another property. So for the most part, like, I've been using other people's money for a lot of this stuff, or I've been using owner financing. So in any case, so I'm doing real estate sales. I'm building a real estate sales team, and then I'm investing in property. And as I started investing in property, I got to the point where I realized that I could no longer manage it myself, so I looked to start a management company as well. And, you know, it was just kind of out of a necessity, but I also figured, well, if I can keep everything that I do, if I own the business that supports and supplies everything that I do, then I'm making money off of every section of it. So if I buy a property, I can pay myself a commission. I can hand it over to the management company. We have a leasing agent who leases it. I make money off of that. We have a maintenance crew who will rehab it. I'll make money off of that. And then they're managing it, and I'm paying a management fee, and I'm making the money off the management fee too. So I've just kind of, you know, what was it called? Vertical integration. I've just kind of turned it into like a factory line. So we still work for clients as well, but I'm able to feed more and more of my own business into it. And what I ended up looking at, and I kind of like, I turned 37 and I realized, when I started this, I was 27 and I set the goal of I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 37 because it was 10 years. It was going to be 10 years. And I didn't even think about it. I turned 37 and I sat down and I was applying for, I think I was applying for a refinance. And I sat down and I had to work up a net worth worksheet. And when I worked it up, I came out to like $1.2 million worth of net worth. And I didn't even think about it. It was a goal. I should have been thinking about it, but I wasn't. And I sat down and I calculated it out and I thought about it and I was like, holy crap, I did it. So that's my story. And, for anybody who's getting started out in this, I would say, get the knowledge first. The big thing is getting the knowledge that you need to get rolling, but don't get so caught up in getting the knowledge that you don't take action. Okay? The big thing is taking action. If you don't take action, you're not gonna hit any goals. All right? So that's my story. I hope it was helpful. Since then, I was able to continue building the businesses, continue building the portfolio. Where we are at now, so I'm 39, so this is 2 years later. I'm 39 years old, and this year we have I have 10 units under contract with me and my partner and some other partners, and then we already closed on a unit as well. So this year I'll have picked up 11 units in 1 year, whereas the previous 10 years before that, it took me 10 years to accumulate 15 units, or 14 units, sorry. So, now I've got the knowledge and confidence and experience and connections that, I'm able to plug more units into it, and that's what I'm looking at now, is really building the investment side of the portfolio while I maintain the real estate sales team and the property management team as well. So that's where we're at. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll give you more content as well. And if you want coaching, click on the Patreon link below. If you want access to any of those books that helped me along the way, there are links for my favorite ones below as well. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.